Hello, and welcome back to Fuscus Fury. My name's Glossy Pigeon, and this is my Minecraft Mega Maze build. Last time you saw me build Pac-Man, and you saw a little bit of how I've been getting on with Space Invaders. Well, this week we're going to tackle Space Invaders properly. I've got some new concepts and I'm really going to give it a go. I got some feedback from last week's episode about my audio levels and that I was a bit quiet, and I've listened, I heard you, unlike you not being able to hear me. I've tried to balance it a little bit better, so hopefully you can hear me. Feel free to leave a comment if it's any better. Feel free to leave any feedback. I appreciate all comments as I continue with building this maze. But before we get started on Space Invaders, it's time for an update. Welcome back to Fuscus at 10. My name's Glossy Pigeon and I'll be your correspondent this evening. Adventurers beware! When exploring the frozen depths of the ice maze, watch out for deep snow. One wrong step and you could be buried up to your blocky head. Stay vigilant, use leather boots and keep your shovel handy. In further news, the Glossy government issued a press release today advising adventurers to avoid riding striders in lava lakes due to recent incidents. Many have fallen victim to unexpected lava flows and hazardous conditions. Officials recommend sticking to safer travel methods. Exciting news from an excavation site. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient puzzles hidden within the Redstone ruins. Solving these intricate challenges is said to reveal a long-lost treasure, rumoured to include a wealth of glossy gold. Stay tuned for more updates as our brave adventurers delve deeper into the mysterious find. Finally, we move to weather with our correspondent, Glossy Pigeon. Glossy? Where am I? What do you mean? Where am I right now? Because I know I asked to be put in the studio, but this is clearly AI generated. I don't even know how I got here. I feel like I was floating in a void. I'm being asked to remind you that part of the agreement of you being in a studio is that you'll read from the teleprompter. Okay. There will be fires in the north, snow in the south, and heavy rains in the west and the east. I hate my job. That's all we've got time for this week, folks. Stay safe, adventurers, and may your picks never break. I've been taking a look at Space Invaders. As I said in the previous episode, there seems to be some lag issues. I think I've gotten to the bottom of it. It doesn't look too bad here. I have removed the floor so we can see through and see the basic idea of how this all functions. And this is going back and forth, so it's working right now. However, often the further I get away, it does stop functioning so much. Yeah, we can see here that it's now failed to actually trigger back and the game is stuck. How am I going to go about fixing this? Simply, I think, to actually make this work, I'm actually going to have to make it harder. Well, not harder, but harder for me to build. I'm going to have a little play. The problem seems to be player proximity. Be it to this circuitry, be it to the actual blocks. I'm not sure which one it is, but it does seem to be failing. Well, I suppose the circuitry did fail, so would make sense. That means that this trigger mechanism, these fireworks, I'm not going to be able to do it that way. Instead, what I'm thinking, I'm going to place a player below the map, and then they'll have pressure plates where they'll be able to step left and right, and then that's going to control, hopefully, a ship that will go up and down here, and that will fire at the Space Invaders. Or fire at the ships. I suppose that must be the correct name. That does mean it's actually going to look a lot more like you're playing Space Invaders when it's done. Yes, it's harder, but I do think it's really going to be worth it, both to have the game functioning and for what it's going to look like aesthetically. So I'm going to get going, start building some of the concept, make sure that it works, and I'll catch you back in a minute. After much experimentation, I've come up with this idea. This redstone block here, not needed, is just preventing from this dispenser firing permanently. However, this mechanism, as simple as it looks, quite complicated in what it actually achieves. You'll notice here I have a stone block and a dirt block on either side. That's going to be so that I can have command blocks underneath these buttons, and they're going to do a fill command for that specific block. Now, there's no other blocks where, well, I hope there's no other dirt or stone blocks nearby. I don't think there is. Yeah, we'll just go with it. We're going to do a fill command. That's going to replace it with a redstone block, either one, depending on which side they're stood on. If the redstone block is replaced, it'll trigger this, which then detects if they can fill an air block. If they can, a redstone block will be placed here. That triggers this mechanism, which moves this along one on the first one, and this one deletes all of this. That's quite important for how this works. And then finally, this one here, that moves this whole mechanism to the left from this perspective, but right from the player's perspective. And then the other side obviously does the same, just with the dirt block. So I'll just show you if I place redstone here, you'll see the mechanism moves along one, and it keeps firing. All I've got to do now is just place in the command blocks for the fill command. And it now seems to be working. You can see the initial idea. Obviously, I'm going to fill out the centre of the maze. It's not going to be there. It's just for the convenience of working on it right now. You can see that the ship does move along. There are some issues where it does occasionally lag behind. It does leave some of the actual ship that I'm using, that I'm firing. I don't really know how I'm going to resolve that, or if I even really need to. Let's be honest, this does not need to be perfect. The fact that I've even managed to achieve this, pretty incredible in my opinion. The other idea I have is that about every couple of ticks, the player will be teleported to exactly where they are, but facing in one direction, so that the player doesn't get confused and only has to use left thumbstick to actually continue. I'm getting distracted here. I'm not actually playing. I'm too busy trying to talk here. This is way better, and it looks far more achievable. There's still more to be done here. Absolutely there is. We've got to figure out how the game's actually going to end. I don't think I've actually figured that out yet. Yeah, I figured it out if the ships get to the end. I know how to do that, but as for the rest, I'm not too sure as of yet. But we're certainly getting there. Annoyingly, what I've realised when building this, as far as I've gotten, I've actually done this the wrong way round with materials. So if you actually go look at Space Invaders, the ship, or the player's model, the player's ship is actually golden, and the ships are actually white. So I've built this the wrong way around. It's going to be a bit annoying to switch it all around, but it shouldn't take me too long to do. I seem to be keeping perfect pace here. I've actually updated the timing on it, which means it's just a little bit faster. So it does seem to keep, it looks like it's actually keeping pace with ships, which is pretty cool. Let's get that all swapped round, and it should look close to the real game. I switched up the blocks, and it does look a little closer to the game. I might have made this a bit too easy now. So one of the things I noticed was how the commands were working was when the fireworks were shot, and when it actually hit a block, it was deleting all of the fireworks that were currently in play, which meant it was a little bit too hard. It's now gotten easier. This is looking a lot better now. It looks far more like the actual Space Invaders game. I had to use bone blocks instead of white concrete, because if I'd used white concrete, it would have broken the borders of the game. It would have just kept going, the fireworks. However, oh, hello, what's going off over there? So this bug happens every now and again, super annoying, but it's only occasional. See, yeah, there you go. Now it's deleting itself. It'll be gone in a minute. It'll probably disappear this time. Let's just double check. And there we go. It's gone. It's managed to get rid of itself. I don't know why that happens every now and again. As I say, I'm not too worried. Now what I need to do is figure out, how am I actually going to end this game? I don't have a scoreboard. I have no way of detecting it. The problem is, there's no easy way of detecting what blocks are within a specific area to make sure, there are actually blocks there. Certainly with it moving as well, because what I'd consider doing it is doing it as a replace function, because I can replace it to one and then replace it back to another block immediately. However, that doesn't really work when the game is actually moving. I think I'm going to have to do it a little bit like Pac-Man. In Pac-Man, it relies upon every time that a player picks up one of the pieces, it detects it and then it adds to a scoreboard. When the player hits a certain scoreboard number, like this hidden on this hidden scoreboard, it ends the game. So I think I'm going to have to replicate that again. The scoreboard methodology that I use for Pac-Man doesn't seem to work for Space Invaders. I'll explain why. So I've run the test twice. I've completed the game twice with it on, and I've got a score of 293. For those paying attention, obviously that's not an even number, so that means it's not scoring the same both times. And actually, it's much worse than it just being off by 1 or 2. First time I played it, I scored 149, and then the second time, I scored 144, which is 5 out, so that's not a reliable scoreboard. That's also bearing in mind there's actually 364 bone blocks as well. That means we have a possible massive variation, making this an unreliable method. I'll be honest with you, I actually don't know right now how I'm going to detect this. Am I going to have to put in another circuit? I'm really wondering how I'm going to do it. If you have an idea, put your thoughts down in the comments. I'm going to give this a go. Take a little break and come back to it, and we'll see how I get on. I've now managed to add it so that when the players complete the actual game, it detects it. Once all the blocks have gone, they'll get sent back to the main maze, where they'll also receive points, increasing their Fuscus Fury score. If you've been paying attention, you'll see on the right, I've tested this quite a few times. You can see my score's gone up quite a bit. Players will also receive 10 glossy blocks. They'll not be able to return back to here until the very end when once the players have completed all mazes, I'm planning to have a bonus area where you can spawn back to all of these mini games. However, let's get to the end here. These last few blocks always take the longest. It's so annoying. There we go. Players go back to the beginning. You see my score's gone up by 1,000. You won't be able to see it, but I did receive 10 glossy blocks as well. I've got plenty here. You can see, as I say, I've tested this quite a few times. But that now means Space Invaders is near enough complete. Couple more touch-ups, couple little things to add for improvement and ease of play and things, but we're getting ever closer to it being fully complete and ready to be implemented and left alone. I'm so happy with how this is going at the moment. I really thought I wasn't going to be able to get Space Invaders done. I had another potential project in mind, which you'll probably see next time now. Yeah, I've been considering how to build Donkey Kong, which, well, if I thought I had it hard with Space Invaders, I can assure you I have it a lot harder with Donkey Kong. It's been about a week since I actually last recorded anything. I should explain why. I was actually quite far ahead in recording. I thought, I'm going to be able to get a video out in quicker than 3 weeks. Really excited. And then I went ahead and got COVID. Yeah, not the greatest thing to get. I'm still actually recovering now, but I haven't been able to work anymore on Space Invaders. Instead, I've been working on a couple of little items to add to the game. You can see here I've got a helmet, a chest piece, a belt, and some boots, all in line for the air maze, and they've got a little special something about them as well. Players will be able to buy this armor set from a trader in the centre of the game using the Glossy Gold that they collect throughout the game. Obviously, it's not going to be cheap, it's going to be very high level. Actually has higher endurance than netherite armor, I believe. It's also going to come enchanted, but I've really enjoyed these particle effects. It was an idea of my brother's to slow them down a bit. I had them faster than this before. I think he's absolutely right. Slowing them down was the right move. Also, it only triggers when players are stood on the floor. That's the whole thing. I'm sure that's something I can just change. I might do. I kind of like the fact that it's only when the player's on the floor though. That was just a quick little update on some items that I've added. I quickly go build where the player can trade their Glossy Gold and start having these items come into play. Welcome to Fuscus Fury, a thriving Minecraft world with a complex and dynamic economy. But recently, the introduction of a new currency, Glossy Gold, has sparked controversy and concern among its inhabitants. Today we investigate the economic impact of Glossy Gold, found exclusively by defeating hostile mobs. In the heart of Fuscus Fury's marketplaces, traders and merchants once thrived on a diverse barter system. Goods like emeralds, diamonds, and even rare enchanted books were the lifeblood of trade. But Glossy Gold has begun to change everything.
Glossy Gold has flooded the market. Players are more interested in hunting mobs than trading with us. Our traditional items are losing value, and the economy is becoming unstable.
Glossy Gold is obtained by slaying mobs, turning combat prowess into economic power. But this shift raises several questions. How sustainable is this new economy? And what about those who prefer building or farming to fighting?
I've always relied on farming and trading my crops, but now fewer people are interested in what I have to offer. They want Glossy Gold. I can't provide that. It's frustrating.
The demand for Glossy Gold has driven up prices for rare items and services. While some players are thriving, others are being left behind. The divide between the wealthy and the struggling is widening. The influx of Glossy Gold has led to inflation. Prices for essential goods are skyrocketing, and the value of traditional currencies is plummeting. If this trend continues, we could see a severe economic crisis in Fuscus Fury. Community leaders are now debating potential solutions. Some propose limiting the amount of Glossy Gold that can be obtained, while others suggest diversifying the economy with new types of currency or trade incentives. We're looking at ways to balance the economy, perhaps introducing new challenges or adjusting the drop rates for Glossy Gold. Our goal is to ensure that all adventurers, regardless of their work, can thrive in Fuscus Fury. Fuscus Fury stands at a crossroads. The future of its economy depends on finding a balance that benefits everyone. As the debate continues, one thing is clear: the impact of Glossy Gold will be felt for a long time to come. So, I'm going to be honest, I didn't actually get around to doing the trading stuff. I started on it, and then I realised how absolutely tedious customizing villager trades is. It's actually super easy to do once you know what you're doing. You just have to edit the correct JSON files and stuff like that. It takes a long time, and I couldn't be bothered doing it. It was actually far more interesting for me to film that video. Admittedly, probably did actually take me longer to put all that video together than it would have taken me to actually customize everything. Though I do also need to put in all the other custom items really before I fully start on the village trade. Oh, that was very close. I do need to add all the customized items before I fully commit to doing the villager trading, but you know, one step at a time. As for Space Invaders, that's all I'm going to work on it this week. Now that you've seen me do that, probably a good idea to go see Pac-Man. That's what I worked on last time. I'll link that below. But that's all we've got time for this week, folks. Players, stay safe, and may your picks never break. Goodbye.